Hello and welcome to Uncomfortable Conversations, where we focus on topics that are uncomfortable. First, we focus on the issue, then we get into the facts, then we focus on the messaging. Today, we're going to talk about cult behavior, brainwashing, and whether or not it's possible to deprogram someone who's lost from reality. There's a lot of misunderstanding about brainwashing. Oxford defines it as the process of pressuring someone into adopting radically different beliefs by using systemic means. While gaslighting causes you to question yourself, brainwashing installs distrust and paranoia in others. The process itself boils down to repeated derogatory and negative comments done through relatively constant contact. Slowly changing someone's behavior and mindset is most potent when done during times of trauma and deep distress, even if that distress is self-created. An example of this people have become familiar with is the infamous Sinclair scripts pushed through the 294 local television stations that they own or operate in 89 markets, ranging from as large as Washington, D.C. to as small as Ottumwa, Iowa. Keep in mind, local channels are where the bulk of the nation gets their news content.
But we are concerned about troubling and irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
We've all seen and heard, due to the impact of Fox and Sinclair, the same verbiage used over and over again in comments on social media from family. Subconsciously, this allows these extremist thoughts to become our loved ones' thoughts, and they didn't even notice. The first warning sign is the obsession with an idea, a person, or both, to the exclusion of all else. This is where the victim stops intake of anything that conflicts with the beliefs of their new group for purity of thought, and any outside influence is greatly discouraged. The subjugators are now the trusted advisors and will take advantage of any disagreements that arise from reasonable people pointing out inconsistencies, turning minor problems into major differences, with the idea being that your loved one now trusts you less and the subjugator more. After all, you reacted exactly the way it was said that you would. You obviously don't understand, or you directly oppose, and therefore you are the enemy. The arguing and distance created is identified as being because of you, not them. The victims are told that the more pushback they receive, the more powerful defender of the cause that they are. In reality, it's meant to break down their will and drive a wedge between you. These splinters even happen within the extremist sources, which you can see as misinformation outlets like Fox break off into more extremist sources like Newsmax, OAN, The Blaze, Breitbart, Alex Jones, etc. Another activity used to break down will is a ceaseless, relentless verbal assault that eventually forces the mind into submission. This method was oft repeated by the twice impeached former president whenever he would get in front of a microphone, and unfortunately usually played in clips or its entirety.
The president spoke in the Rose Garden today for 53 minutes without pause or interruption, saying the same things he would normally say to a campaign rally audience. It was billed as a statement about China, and while it briefly contained one, he went on to relitigate the 2016 election and the polls. He went hard after Obama, especially hard after the Bidens, both Joe and his son Hunter, of course. He talked about the Paris Climate Accord, Burisma, Biden's failures in the area of road and bridge construction, Bernie, AOC, ventilators, hospital ships, violence in Chicago, the stock market 3 times, the usual stuff. Oh, and he said Biden would abolish the suburbs and Windows, not the software, but Windows, the kind in buildings. He said, we're feeling good about our country. He said the European Union was formed to take advantage of the United States. He quickly added, other presidents didn't know that. He said, we are coming out of this pandemic on top. On the coronavirus, he said, testing is fodder for fake news. Cases are created because of the testing, but nothing new about how to control this virus.
We'll have a separate conversation about the role and opportunities of our fourth estate. But as a quick spoiler, addressing it directly like this is how you combat it, rather than continuing to uncritically share that platform of misinformation at best and outright lies at worst. Add this to the demand all followers swear allegiance in one form or another, with any opposing viewpoints shunned and demonized. In addition to lengthy periods of time to wait for an action, then the wait seems like it's over, and then it starts all over again, it constantly keeps you looking to them for answers and then coming back for more.
Since it's Infrastructure Week, I'm wondering if the president...
Is it Infrastructure Week?
Yeah.
Secretary Chao kicked off Infrastructure Week with an event with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce this morning.
Infrastructure Week continues.
We're actually calling it Infrastructure Week in this administration, and today I have the honor to kick off our very first summit focused on infrastructure.
We call it Infrastructure Week. We're working very hard to reduce the permitting and approval process on major projects. My administration is working every day to deliver the world-class infrastructure that our people deserve and, frankly, that our country deserves. We're here today to discuss the urgent need to rebuild and restore America's depleted infrastructure. We're going to get this infrastructure going.
So I know people like to joke it's Infrastructure Week again. I'm very happy that it's Bipartisan Infrastructure Day anyway.
Those are clips from a 2-minute video that follows each of those with the scandal that breaks hours after those interviews, by the way. It's really powerful, and I'll share the link in the description. These victims will not return to normal without intervention. The suggestion is to not argue or debate over the topic, but to discuss intelligently and with interest and slow as possible and diplomatically as possible. And this can absolutely be easier said than done, especially with those closest to you. But the idea is to gradually interject alternative ideas concerning the topic in question. This is similar to what we talked about in messaging, where you don't confront the delivery, instead you ask questions. A specific question for someone who is close to you could be, since your beliefs are supposed to be beneficial to everyone, even me and other people you know, how is it beneficial to insert random whatever they've got? They may not have an honest response right now, but the idea is that a seed will have been planted and hopefully grow into them asking themselves, what do I and or society truly gain from making my loved ones my enemy? Another question could be, what was really the condition of our relationship before you became involved in this group or cause? I don't want to call it being that bad. Again, it's all about planting a seed that allows the victim to ask hard questions that require critical thinking. Because right now, they cannot be reasoned with or reached with logic. That's not what they're using right now. The truth is, deprogramming doesn't work on someone who doesn't want help, even if that want is subconscious. And many of our loved ones may be too far gone right now without removing the source of the brainwashing. We can show the way, but they have to choose it. And above all, you are not responsible for the choices of others. It is not your fault that they have chosen delusion over reality. Don't put trying to convince someone who doesn't want to be convinced over your mental health or well-being. Whether it is a flat earther, an anti-vaxxer, an anti-masker, or someone determined to accept that sheep dewormer is safer than a vaccine, the best thing that we can do is not amplify their message, not repeat their misinformation, and go directly to decision makers to show reason and reality have the actual majority on their side. The decision makers, even if they think that way, they're more interested in power. Giving these people a continuous, uncritical platform allows their message to multiply and make it seem like they represent their community at large. As Carl Sagan wrote in The Demon-Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark, a book I cannot recommend highly enough, first published in February 1996, one of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time, when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all the manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority, when clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes are critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what is true, we slide, almost without noticing, back into superstition and darkness. The dumbing down of America is most evident in the slow decay of substantive content in the enormously influential media, the 30-second sound bites, now down to 10 seconds or less, lowest common denominator programming, credulous presentations on pseudoscience and superstition, but especially a kind of celebration of ignorance. Remember, science constantly tries to prove itself wrong. That's how we learn and improve. Cult mentality can see no wrong, can accept no wrong, and will fill in the blanks with whatever is needed to continue to ignore that it's wrong.